Good evening, everybody. Again, I know you guys just watched the live I had a couple hours ago with Joe Scott Morgan, and then one of the viewers tipped me off to something that has some serious implications now tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. I had also consulted with Catch List Raul, who has been on top of all these things, but I always want to run things by him first because he is the guy to know in regards to what's happening in behind the scenes between Lisk, the victims' families, and everybody else. Hey, Shannon. So here is the problem. Now, tomorrow morning, out of the blue, John Bittrolf has a court date at 8 a.m. in Suffolk County Court, Part 5. Now, just going to do a brief background of John Bittrolf and why this could be huge. Now, I'm not a speculation guy, and I'm not going to get into the weeds with this tonight. I'm going to let others get into the weeds, but I'm going to lead you guys there and then let you make your own decisions about what this actually means. I had promised Raul to stay focused on this and not to get into this could get really crazy. Okay. So John Bittrolf is from Long Island. He's a carpenter, and right now he's doing 50 years for the murders of Rita Tangredi and Colleen McNamee. Now, Rita, I have some notes, so I'm going to be looking back and forth because I couldn't remember all this fast. So Rita was 31 years old, and she was found murdered in East Patchogue. Now that area at the time there was nothing there. Now there's all houses. There's a whole housing development that is located there. Colleen McNamee was 20 years old. She was from Holbrook. Both of these women were found nude. They were mutilated, and they also suffered from blunt force trauma. Now, here is the interesting part of this. DNA from the brother through a familial DNA search led investigators to John Bittrolf. Now, Bittrolf was found guilty of this based on the DNA evidence. However, there was a number of stories and a number of mentions that there was a mixture of DNA found either on the bodies, in the bodies, around the bodies, what have you. So, which means there's other potential donors. Now, the interesting part of this is, and I've been through cases where you've had DNA mixtures, and a lot of times the DNA didn't want to go forward because you have a situation where you don't know when the donor deposited the DNA with the victim or on the victim or what have you. All right, not to get too graphic, and I don't want to set off the different ratings on here. We're all adults. We understand what I'm talking about, even though I'm trying to talk in code. I don't want to get into the whole bit, right? So the donor deposits DNA, but we don't know the sequence of events. We don't know how many donors. And this is all important because if the event comes up that there are other donors identified based on those DNA samples that were taken from the crime scenes, boy, we have the makings of a real problem. And I'm going to get to that problem in a second because as Raul mentioned in a comment just long ago, I made some quick show notes on this case. And one of the show notes was from the Criminal Procedural Law. I want you guys to read it. I'm going to read part of it, but I want you to read the whole thing. So here's the other problem, or not a problem. Here's the other thing. In Rita Tangredi's case, the investigators or somebody leaked out information that I believe it was her left shoe and underwear were taken from the crime scene as souvenirs. That's the exact word they were using, souvenirs. So we know that this killer took something from the victims. Now, I don't have any information on that on the victim, Colleen McNamee, but it would be interesting to find out. Now, we do know that there's been lots of search warrants that have been conducted lately, and that's just another little interesting tidbit. So, also, John Bittrolf's name was one of the names that Rex Heuermann Googled, right? He was part of his whole Googling kind of thing. So, yeah, these are the things that make you go, Now, the interesting part of this guy is convicted for killing 2 women. He's not considered a serial killer because in order to get that classification, you have to be convicted of, or at least be known to have killed at least 3 persons or more. He was suspected in a third case, but they couldn't tie him to that. So the interesting part of this now is that tomorrow's motion is based on Criminal Procedural Law 440-10. Now, I put the link to the entire Criminal Procedural Law 440-10. I want you to read the whole thing, because here's the deal. If you have a convicted murderer, there is no reason to bring them into court unless there's something big is going to happen. Now, this motion is brought out by the defense, and there are several reasons why that they can bring out this this motion. So if you guys follow me on Twitter, I just put out the court case and the court information. I just sent it out there now. If you're interested in that, you can follow up on that later. But here's the thing. So Section 440 is a motion to vacate judgment, which means to try to get somebody out of jail, right? So here, I want you to focus on 2 of the subpoints, and that is G and G1. Now, G says this one. This is what really kind of makes this stick out. New evidence has been discovered since the entry of a judgment based on the verdict of guilty after trial, which could not have been produced by the defendant at the trial, even with the due diligence of his part, and which is such character as to create probability that had such evidence been received at the trial, that verdict would have been more favorable to the defendant, prove that a motion based upon such ground must be made with due diligence after the discovery of such alleged new evidence. Or, I'm going to get to the or in a second. Let's just break that down for a second. So, evidence that was not available at the time that is now available now, which is quite interesting because, as we know, there's been lots of breaking news all about Long Island in regards to Gilgo and everything else. And that's just something that John Bittrolf was also being accused of being the Long Island serial killer. If you go back and just run his name, he has a very difficult name to spell. But I put it in the title of this, and his information is also in the show notes. The G1, now on the same criminal procedural law, is even more interesting. It says forensic DNA testing of evidence performed since the entry of judgment. 1, in the case of the defendant convicted after a guilty plea, the court has determined that the defendant has demonstrated a substantial probability that his defendant was actually innocent of the offense which he or she was convicted. Or 2, in the case of a defendant convicted after a trial, the court has determined that there is existence a reasonable probability that the verdict would have been more favorable to the defendant. Wow, right? So that could be those 2 avenues on this. Now, just to preface this with another note, John Bittrolf was also scheduled on November 13th for a court date that I can't find anybody mentioning it anywhere. I went to the local newspaper, Newsday. I ran it in there. I couldn't find it. Long Island Press. There's a Riverhead Times. All of these cases, all these newspapers that are kind of, just Suffolk County, and specifically all the way out on the South Fork of Suffolk County. And that's what we call it for those of you that don't live on Long Island or don't know Long Island. We have 2 forks. You have a North Fork and a South Fork. These murders, including all the Gilgo, would be considered towards the south part of Long Island. No mention of his expected court case in the 13th, and it was adjourned. Now, the court case tomorrow also now has adjourned next to it, right? So Raul pointed that out to me before, that it also has adjourned, but doesn't have any other information on it, like judge's name and this and that. Tomorrow's case is supposed to be in front of Judge Richard Ambrose in Part 5. This now becomes a real big problem for the investigators, Suffolk County itself, if this is what I believe it to be. I'm not going to get into the weeds here, guys. I'm not going to speculate, all right? There's going to be plenty of that done by other people. I don't want to get involved in that. But all I can say is that this court appearance for a convicted murderer in person, there's really no other reason to do this unless it's something big, right? You could do everything you need to do with him still in jail. You don't have to do anything. He's in jail. He's not going anywhere. You could do a Zoom meeting with him if there was something else that comes up, and that's it. So the fact that this is in person, I think, has a lot of interest for a lot of different people. Now, I reached out to some other people, and everybody that I know of, including some people in the media, were totally unaware of this. So this has been kind of been done, um, you know, below the radar kind of thing. So this has some really big implications. I mean, huge. That's about as much as I'm going to speculate tonight. This is huge. If this is to what I myself and others believe it is. A motion to dismiss. There's no question about it that that's what this is. It says specifically in the court documents. Like I said, I just put out the Twitter 440-10, and there's no speculation on that, and there's no conjecture. It is what it is. It's a motion to dismiss. So this is this is going to get wild, folks. If you recall, I kind of, unbeknownst to me, I had no idea this was coming. Like I said, I had a YouTube individual. I'm not going to name the person. Sent me this thing, says, "Did you know about this?" And I didn't. So I mean, there's a lot of people that haven't. So it's like, I'm just as much flabbergasted about this as you guys. And let's see, I'm just looking at some of the things I would. So here's from Scott. I would take this as Tierney had a meeting with Bittrolf's attorney. Yeah, Scott, this is getting rather interesting to see how this one plays out. You know, there's so much politics going on with Suffolk County right now, with the commissioner resigning. The commissioner is under investigation. I don't know if you know this, right? Rob Trotter, who was a legislator out there, handed over information and evidence that could implicate the commissioner in doing things with his time records. He's given it to Ray Tierney for an investigation, which is kind of absolutely against protocol. It's supposed to be given to Internal Affairs. Internal Affairs is supposed to go to Suffolk County District Attorney and to find out what, it's just so much stinks in this whole county about this kind of stuff. It's unbelievable. So I'm not surprised. I mean, and the legislator was recording recording meetings with the police commissioner, unbeknownst to the commissioner, which is totally legal in New York because New York is a one-party state, so you don't have to do that. But so, Marianne, are they thinking that Rex, this is going to be let him go? Marianne, no, I don't think. I don't think this has to do with letting Rex go, but it's going to get interesting. A couple of weeks ago, hey Lisa, how are you? A couple of weeks ago, I said, I kind of predicted, and I'm going to take credit for this now. I said, things are going to get wild in the next couple of weeks. I never imagined that they could get this wild. And I think Raul will agree with me too, that this could be like unbelievable. And you're going to hear, I mean, there's going to be other YouTubers, there's going to be other true crime people that are going to take this and run with it. That's fine. It's just not my gig. That's just not my game. I don't want to get into all that the speculation part. Let them do it. It's just something that we're going to definitely think about it. Yes, Sandra, Suffolk County politics is a minefield for sure. Anybody who's lived in this island or on this island, boy, oh boy, it's going to get absolutely interesting things. So tomorrow, I want you guys to watch out for this. I'm going to be ready, and I know Raul's going to be ready. So maybe Raul and I could get online if something big happens. Maybe we can do a quick show together. But we're going to be following exactly what's happening tomorrow. If he appears in court tomorrow, and if this is a motion to dismiss, and what that motion is exactly about. That's why I have some phone calls into a lot of people. Hopefully, I can get some real, some facts about certain things, without getting into certain areas of this. So just stay tuned. Tomorrow could be a very interesting thing. So Scott says, "Hey Sergeant, I get not going down in the rabbit hole with Bittrolf. Can we chat about Kaz?" Yeah, no, we're not going to chat about Kaz either there, Scott. Sorry. But it's things are gonna get wild. So all I can tell you is buckle up, guys, because tomorrow might be some big news coming out. It could be a big nothing burger too, right? This could all just blow over, but I don't think so. And I guarantee you this will make it in the newspaper sometime tomorrow or on News 12 or something else. Because I have made a couple of phone calls to different people, and eventually I know that's going to leak out to them, somewhere down the line, which doesn't matter. I mean, this is newsworthy. This is big news as far as I'm concerned. And it's going to have some definite couple. Yeah, Viv, buckle up, buttercups. Yep. So It's going to be at 8 a.m. tomorrow, which is another unusual thing. 8 a.m. The court's not open yet. Court doesn't open till 9. So you have a convicted murderer. They look like they're going to bring him in when court's closed, get him to see the judge, in and out. Nobody gets hurt. You know, when you're transporting specifically convicted murderers, you're taking a big risk, you know, of escape and everything else that goes on. So this is a big deal. This taking him from prison and bringing him to Suffolk County Court for this motion is a big deal. And has anyone talked to Mary Murphy yet? No, not yet. But I'm sure Mary's going to be on it. Oh, speaking of Mary Murphy, this Saturday at 3 p.m., Mary Murphy will be on True Crime with the Sarge with me. So hopefully, if this does happen and she is there tomorrow, we can get a little bit of an inside scoop. She's already promised some inside scoop on some of the other court appearances of Rex and Asa. So that is going to be interesting. So hopefully tomorrow, if something comes out of this, either way, I'll make a note on Twitter. If it's no big deal, I will put something out on Twitter. If it's a big deal, I'll put something out on Twitter that I will be going live on this and discussing it. And hopefully maybe Raul can join me and then we can discuss and break down some of the stuff that's happening. All right. So I just wanted to just let everybody know that this was happening. I appreciate you all jumping on. We went up to 85 people, so that's great. And I just want to say thank you again tonight for you guys' support. I want to wish you a happy day tomorrow. Tomorrow is Monday. Many of us going back to work. So enjoy the week. Have a good week. Be safe. And we'll see you tomorrow. Well, stay tuned, guys. Have a good night. Thank you.